Reconnaissance is a film project that I always had in the back of my mind to do, but I was a little bit concerned about all the visual effects that were going to be required. I knew, for years and years, ever since I was a little boy, I've been a model maker, and it was always my dream to work in the film industry as a model maker. So when it came to doing my own science fiction film, I wanted to use nothing but practical models for all the hardware and the sets. And so that was really the goal initially, was to use all practical models. And I thought about it, and I came up with some original designs. And as time progressed, I started to realize just how impractical that was going to be. There was the logistics of space and the time required to get models done for a motion picture. It takes months and months, sometimes 2 years, to get all the models completely built and detailed the way they need to be for a motion picture. So then I started to wonder if the film was ever going to become a reality at that point, because even as of today, I have not worked in any sort of true 3D dynamic program. Now, I've been using After Effects for quite a few years, and then I started using a plugin by Video Copilot called Element 3D that goes right inside of After Effects. So one day, I'm looking at YouTube, and I ran across several videos done by other guys where they were actually taking 3D models of sci-fi spaceships and using them in Element 3D inside After Effects. And I thought, well, here's a real game changer. So I watched the tutorials that they had, and I started to think, yeah, if I can pull the same thing off, then I think that Reconnaissance stands a really good chance at becoming a reality. So I downloaded a couple of free models just to tinker with, and right away I was getting pretty good results. A lot of these models come with textures already created by the guys who are doing the models, so that wasn't a problem. And so I kept tinkering with that, and I would upload some of the video results, and I was getting some pretty good feedback from friends and family and all my fellow filmmakers, and I thought, yeah, this is looking pretty good here. So I then purchased several models that I thought would be appropriate for use in the film, and so I selected these models, purchased them from a website, and I immediately started experimenting with those. So I guess you could say the visual effects for Reconnaissance have really been in the works for well over a year. It took me that long to experiment and to basically perfect the use of these models, because again, I did not want to make this film if I could not get really good results with the visuals, because I just did not want this film to come out looking hokey or really foolish. So that's where I ended up in terms of getting these models and started using them. And as the film itself was being developed, I went ahead and I actually started creating some of the effect sequences that were going to be needed for the film. Everything involving the CGI and no live actors. Because in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, well, even the sets could still be practical models. They wouldn't have to be as detailed because they could be augmented inside Photoshop and After Effects in certain ways, and the detailing would still be there once I applied different textures and things inside of After Effects. So even right up to production and even during shooting, because the first day of shooting was a 2-day shoot, but the Saturday we were shooting, I even had made mention that the actors were going to be inserted into these virtual sets that were still going to be practical models for all intents and purposes. Well, then, when I got back home with all the raw footage and I started tinkering with the raw footage, and I thought, I think I could just recreate the sets using CGI and not even build any practical models. So as it turned out, Reconnaissance doesn't contain one single practical model. Everything you see in that film was generated in the computer, except for the live action, of course. But every set piece you see in that film was done in Photoshop and or After Effects or Element 3D. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised with the results. Is it Hollywood standard, or did I raise any bars? I don't think I did, and I certainly don't think it looks anything like Hollywood would do. But given the fact that it's a low / no budget short, I think the effects turned out appropriately, and I think that the effect does come across. Of course, as with any film, any filmmaker will tell you, after the fact, many of us would like to go back and redo things and change things, and this film is no exception, of course. But again, I'm pleased with how it turned out. The acting was top notch in my opinion. Everyone gave 110%, both crew and cast, and that's important because, as with any film, to me, it's my philosophy is as with any film, it's only as good as the people you work with. For anybody who understands how green screen works and how using a virtual set works, some people, I think, again, the ones who can understand that, when they watch the shuttle interior scene, when Sarlacc first steps through the doors on the shuttle with Mila and the other two Talaxian scientists that are already there, I think you'll be able to appreciate the work that kind of went into that, because there was nothing there but the actors standing on a green screen set. And when you see the end result and you see these two doors just slide open, and then Ron Misak steps through those doors. He didn't step through any doors. He simply stood there, and when I told him to at the appropriate moment, he walked, or he stepped over the threshold of the doors, when in reality, he doesn't really step through anything. As a matter of fact, he was already always in front of those doors. But I generated a mask around him, and I had the mask animate opening him the same time the doors open. And that way it looks as though he's literally, stepping through the doors, and then the doors close behind him. After doing this film and using nothing but CGI, I've come away with a real appreciation and a lot more respect for CGI. Would I have rather used practical models? Absolutely. I'm certainly pleased with the end result of the whole film. It was a lot of fun to do, and like I said, everyone that worked on the film did a magnificent job. I'm very, very pleased.